Who is Murphy Darden? I'm a writer, and I don't know if I have all the words to describe who Murphy Darden is. He was a person that was very, very in tune with history. He loved sharing historical facts and historical artifacts with people.
Humorous, loving, giving, God-centered, God-focused, great sense of humor, just down to earth, humble.
Murphy Darden, I was his pastor for 30 years when I came to Kalamazoo, Michigan. We talked a lot about history. I knew right away that there were going to be a lot of conversations in the future. Aberdeen, Mississippi is where he was from. He came to Kalamazoo seeking opportunity, like many, many African Americans did.
It was just that migration from the South to want better for families, to move away from the racism, particularly for black men. I know it was one of the reasons my parents came here, and when one came, they usually reached back and brought other family members to get them out of that unhealthy, scary situation.
The only job I knew that he had, and he did that for close to 40 years, was as a painter. I believe it was in parchment. One of the things he was passionate about was that if we are going to go anywhere in the future, then it's important that we know our history. He wanted African-American people to know that we have contributed to this country where we live.
It's important because it's part of America in its history. It's part of who we are as a people.
There weren't a lot of things when he was a child in the history books. He searched and he researched. I remember a book that he shared with me, how Africans built the Capitol, about all of these wonderful things that we have done. So he was passionate about it. And the more he found out, the more he wanted to know.
When he was a little boy, he was just like all little boys. We was always interested in cowboys. You know, we had the Roy Rogers, the Hopalong Cassidys, and all of this. Brother Darden, he noticed that all of these cowboys was not of his color. He wasn't black cowboys. And that got him to wondering about, is there any black cowboys? Over the years, he just unrooted all of this historical facts that there was plenty of black cowboys in the West.
It was always cowboy. He would wear cowboy boots to church. He wanted me to wear a pair, but that wasn't my style. And so that passion, all the way back from what he didn't see, became a reality in what really is.
Sometimes Murphy would come over to the house, and my dad wasn't a guitarist, but he strummed. They would sing songs. One of the things that they also did together were watch cowboys, the cowboy movies. And I also remember him saying, you know, they're black cowboys. They're black cowboys. I don't know why they're not showing them, but they're black cowboys.
He just started accumulating artifacts. He'll go in an antiques shop looking for something. And if he saw something, he was going to purchase it. When the church moved, Murphy Darden, before they demolished it, he would say, let me have that stained glass window. I used to tease him. I said, you got this seat from Second Baptist Church? Don't you know there might be one missing? He said, no, they did a renovation. Always a mind that wherever I go, there has to be some historical significance here.
He basically had a museum in his house. He got in touch with me about writing a book about his life story. He talked more about having this museum and exhibiting his work and everything. So finally I said, well, look here, Brother Murphy, do you really want to publish a book, or do you want to start a museum? He said, well, Bud, I'd like to start a museum, you know. So that's when it turned into me working with him in terms of we initially started trying to start a museum.
He was like a walking, breathing museum himself, in church, in the community, in the barbershop, wherever there was an opportunity for him to speak to people about history. He took advantage of that.
And he would from time to time invite individuals into his house, and sometimes even little groups of stuff. And I said, well, Brother Darden, sometimes you don't want everybody coming to your house, So that's when we sit down and devise a plan to put together an exhibit and some type of lesson plan that we could take into the schools. We began to expand outside of Kalamazoo. We went into the school system up in Grand Rapids, Battle Creek, Lansing area.
He was concerned that the younger generation didn't seem to be interested in the history. He felt that it was having an impact on where we are headed.
The young people, at first they but as he went on and everything, they was glued to the edge of their seat. And a lot of them would come up and say how glad they were to learn about black cowboys.
The art, I think, was just a carryover from painting, but he had the mind where he could see something and almost reproduce it. There's a picture that he had of Martin Luther King with a robe on in the pulpit, and I said, I really admire that. And so about 2 weeks later, he had the same picture. It was only a picture of me in a robe holding a Bible.
But he never had that formal training, Everything was a God-gifted talent that he had. If it caught his interest, he could sit down and either paint it, draw it, or paint it, or he could just sculpture. He did a lot of sculpture work. He did a lot of models of churches, some historical churches and stuff.
Kalamazoo, particularly in the area that I grew up in, it was a true bona fide neighborhood. And so when you then look at some of the work and those pieces and things that he captured, it just brought back a lot of memories of my childhood and even growing up here in Kalamazoo.
His main focus was not to make money off of it, but to share it with people. He loved what he was doing. He was sincere. Any history type stuff that he had, he wanted to share with people.
And a few weeks before he passed, he was in my office and I was privy to receive from him 2 special books. Booker T. Washington's first edition, signed copy of Up From Slavery. I also have The Life and Times of Frederick Douglass, first edition, signed copies. And so those momentums are precious to me.
He was a good man. He was a good person.
He was very humble. He was a proud black man, but not prideful.
Between his love of history and his faith and his love of God, that was his world.
I think it was his 90th birthday. I had the opportunity of filming all the community that came through as they did a right-by birthday celebration for him because it was COVID, so nobody could come in. But these cars, just streams and streams and streams of cars that came just to wish him a happy birthday. That's who he was to us, to this community, and we'll miss him.